Have you ever noticed how the worst emotional crashes usually happen right after you try to be strong for way too long? You spent months, maybe even years, holding everything together, carrying the weight of your family, your finances, and your problems on your back like a flawless robot that never breaks down. But then, you hit a random Tuesday, you open the refrigerator door, and you just freeze. You look at that empty shelf, and out of nowhere, a heavy, suffocating wave of exhaustion hits your chest, making you realize that your inner battery didn't just drop to 1%, it completely died. You are completely drained, but the worst part isn't even the physical fatigue. It's the quiet, nagging guilt telling you that you aren't allowed to stop because everyone depends on you. So you lock yourself in the bathroom, turn on the shower to drown out the sound, and cry silently so nobody hears the woman who fixes everything finally falling apart. You feel intensely lonely in a world full of people, staring at your phone at 2 a.m., looking for a single text notification or an honest connection, only to find a wall of silence. It feels like you are trapped in a spiritual waiting room, watching other people's perfect lives flash by on social media, while your own prayers seem to bounce right off the ceiling. You keep asking God for a clear sign, a breakthrough, or just a tiny bit of relief, but all you get back is this heavy, frustrating silence that feels a lot like abandonment. But I need you to look closely at my eyes right now and listen to what I'm about to say. That silence you are experiencing is not a punishment, and it is definitely not the end of your story. In this video, I am going to show you how a hidden ancient secret can completely break this cycle of burnout and exhaustion in your life today. We are going to look at the raw, unfiltered truth of a woman who lost absolutely everything, faced the deepest public humiliation, and discovered that God's silence was actually Him setting up her greatest comeback. If you are truly ready to stop pretending you are okay and finally learn how to heal your exhausted soul, do me a huge favor. Go to the comments section right now and type, "I am ready to heal." To truly understand how to heal, we have to look at a woman who walked through this exact same emotional wasteland long before you did. She had a perfectly structured life, a husband and 2 sons, which in her time and culture meant she had total security and status. But a devastating famine struck her homeland, and the raw fear of scarcity forced her family to pack their bags and flee to a foreign, pagan country called Moab. What was supposed to be a temporary refuge quickly turned into the absolute worst nightmare of her entire life. In a very short window of time, in a strange land, her husband died, and shortly after, both of her sons passed away, leaving her completely stripped down to zero. She spent 10 painful years trapped in that place, watching her life wash down the drain, until a sudden report reached her that the famine back home had finally ended, sparking a tiny ember of hope in her chest. She looked at her 2 daughters-in-law, who were also widowed and broken, and told them to stay behind in Moab to rebuild their lives because she was returning home with absolutely nothing left to offer them. One of them wept, kissed her goodbye, and stayed, but the other clung to her neck and spoke one of the most powerful, beautiful declarations of loyalty in human history. "Do not urge me to leave you. Where you go, I will go, and where you stay, I will stay. Your people will be my people, and your God, my God." That is the exact same raw bond of loyalty and pain you experience when everything goes wrong, and you suddenly realize who the real people are that God placed in your corner to catch you before you hit the ground. We see people online who seem to have 1,000 perfect friends at flashy parties, while we are sitting here struggling to find a single sincere soul to lean on in the middle of the night. That ancient woman was facing the crushing public shame of walking back into her hometown widowed, broke, and with a foreign daughter-in-law tucked under her arm. It's like opening your fridge when you're starving after a brutal day, only to find a bottle of sparkling water and an empty plastic container. It is so easy to just stay in bed, pull the covers over your head, and sink into self-pity, pretending that ignoring your problems will make them magically disappear back in Moab. But that woman gathered the few rags she had left, accepted the fierce loyalty of the daughter-in-law, who refused to abandon her, and made a firm, conscious decision to walk right back to the place she came from, knowing the whole town would be whispering. She refused to let misery write the final chapter of her life, standing up despite the heavy grief, moving despite the loss, and walking toward her destiny without a single human guarantee. The hidden breakthrough I'm about to reveal next, and how her steps match your life today, is something you will only discover if you stay with me until the very end of this video. I am talking about Naomi. Let's completely forget about those sterile, perfect, religious illustrations that paint Naomi's life as a boring story and her daughter-in-law Ruth as a helpless victim with no drive. We love to flip straight to the last chapter of the book of Ruth, where we see Naomi smiling, holding a beautiful baby boy, and celebrating a restored family next to a wealthy man. But listen to me very carefully. God did not put that happy ending in the Bible for you to ignore the brutal process, the dust on their feet, and the stomachs growling with hunger in the middle of the story. He recorded the humiliating walk of defeat because that is exactly where the healing takes place. Naomi's massive turning point didn't happen at a celebration. It happened in total darkness when she had to face the illusion of her own strength and finally accept help. For years, she was the woman who thought she could fix everything herself, but now she was entirely dependent on Ruth, who went out every single day to work as a field hand, picking up the leftover scraps of wheat that the wealthy harvesters dropped on the ground. It's just like trying to assemble a complicated piece of furniture without reading the manual, stubbornly snapping at your husband that everything is under control, while you secretly choke back tears over a missing screw. You exhaust yourself trying to control every single detail of your life, protecting everyone around you, until you realize your own strength has become your prison. When Naomi finally crossed the gates of Bethlehem at the very beginning of her return, the entire neighborhood gathered on the sidewalk just to stare at her, and the women whispered, "Is this really Naomi?" You can hear the gossiping tone, the doubt of how a woman who left that city wealthy and blessed could return looking so completely shattered, aged, and poor. It is exactly this fear of judgment that keeps you awake at 3 in the morning, obsessing over what your relatives will say if they find out your life isn't perfect. You burn yourself out trying to maintain the image of the strong woman when your internal battery ran out months ago. But Naomi did something incredible. She shut down the gossip by being brutally honest about her empty hands and her new reality. She looked those neighbors dead in the eye and said, "Do not call me Naomi," which means pleasant. "Call me Mara, because the Almighty has made my life very bitter." She didn't put on a fake smile. She owned her pain, allowing Ruth to go out into the fields to work while she planned their next move. If you are totally done wearing the heavy mask of the woman who carries everything alone, and you are ready to own your reality so God can heal you, go to the comments right now and type, "No more masks." The second major enemy you face on the path to healing is the subtle temptation to mistake pity for true, restorative compassion. When Naomi told her daughters-in-law to go back, she was operating out of deep bitterness, believing that God's hand had turned against her completely. She was projecting her own pain onto the people closest to her, pushing away the very support system God was trying to provide. You do the exact same thing when you isolate yourself in your room, turn off your phone, and reject the friends who genuinely want to help you, convincing yourself that nobody actually cares. True compassion is not a soft, sentimental feeling that leaves you stuck in your misery. It is a fierce, active force that demands movement. Ruth's loyalty wasn't just about crying on Naomi's shoulder. It was about picking up a basket and physically walking into a field to sweat and work under a blazing sun. Healing requires you to allow people to see you when you are weak, dusty, and completely undone. If you keep everyone at arm's length because you are terrified of looking vulnerable, you are actively blocking the human channels that God uses to pour His comfort into your life. Think about how exhausting it is to constantly edit your life before you share it with anyone, making sure your marriage, your kids, and your job look flawless from the outside. You are starving for a real, deep conversation, but you settle for superficial small talk because you don't trust anyone with your broken pieces. Naomi had to let go of her pride and let her foreign daughter-in-law, bring home the leftovers of another man's field just to survive. She had to swallow her dignity to allow the process of restoration to actually begin. The moment you stop treating your vulnerability as a fatal flaw and start seeing it as the doorway to real connection, the entire atmosphere of your life shifts. You stop performing for a crowd that doesn't care and start building a foundation with the few people who love you for who you are, not what you can do for them. If you are ready to let down your guard and let God send the right, loyal people into your story, drop down to the comments and type, "Send the right ones." Real transformation is never an overnight miracle. It is a slow, methodical stripping away of everything you used to rely on so you can finally learn how to rely on God. Naomi had to lose her wealth, her sons, and her status before she could see the true value of the faith and loyalty that Ruth brought into her life. When you are stripped down to nothing, you are forced to realize that the things you thought were protecting you were actually just extra weight keeping you chained to the ground. You cannot enter your next season carrying the baggage, the habits, and the mindsets of the place you just escaped. It's like packing a suitcase for a weekend trip but trying to fit your entire wardrobe inside just in case you need options, making the bag so heavy you can barely lift it off the floor. You are clogging your mental and spiritual capacity with old resentments, past failures, and anxious thoughts about things you cannot control. God is trying to lighten your load so you can run the race ahead of you, but you keep fighting Him, holding on to the very weights that are tearing your muscles apart. You have to willingly open your hands and let those things drop. Naomi's journey back to Bethlehem wasn't a comfortable ride in a carriage. It was a long, dusty, grueling trek on foot across rough terrain. Every single step she took was a physical declaration that she was leaving the pagan compromises of Moab behind and returning to the place of covenant, even if it hurt. Healing requires effort, intentionality, and the willingness to walk through the discomfort of change without turning back. You have to choose to keep moving forward, even when your legs are shaking and your heart is heavy. When you finally decide that the pain of staying the same is greater than the pain of changing, you find a supernatural reserve of strength you never knew you had. You stop looking back at what you lost in Moab and start looking forward to what God is growing in the fields of Bethlehem. If you are making a firm decision today to drop the dead weight and step into your transformation, write it down in the comments right now. I am dropping the wheat. Your daily paralysis happens because you constantly demand a foolproof guarantee from God that you won't suffer again before you take the very first step. You want the entire 5-year plan displayed on your phone screen before you even consider stepping out of your comfort zone. You want absolute certainty that your next choice won't backfire, but that is simply not how faith works. God does not give you a complete map to satisfy your ego. He gives you daily bread, the exact amount of strength needed for the next 24 hours. You will never receive the instruction for step number 2 while you are actively refusing to obey step number 1. The massive shift in Naomi's life didn't happen because things changed by magic, but because she used her mind and shifted her attitude from helpless despair to cold, strategic action. In the second chapter of the story, Ruth comes home exhausted from working and mentions that by pure coincidence, she happened to gather grain in the fields of a very wealthy man named Boaz. The second Naomi hears that specific name, her eyes light up, and she practically jumps out of her chair because she recognizes him. Wait a minute! That man is a close relative of ours. He is one of our legal redeemers. For you to understand the sheer magnitude of Naomi's shock, you need to understand how the culture of that ancient era actually worked. In ancient biblical law, when a man died without leaving any sons, his land was completely lost and his widow was left in absolute poverty. Unless a close male relative from the family stepped forward to marry the widow and buy the land back to preserve the dead man's name. This specific man was called a kinsman redeemer, and Naomi instantly realized that Boaz possessed the exact power and wealth to pull both her and Ruth out of the gutter once and for all. Instead of sitting in the corner crying over her dead sons, Naomi steps into the role of a brilliant strategic mentor and gives Ruth a direct, practical, and incredibly bold order. Go wash yourself, put on your best perfume, dress in your finest clothes, and go down to the threshing floor where Boaz is working. When he lies down to sleep, go uncover his feet and lie down there. Naomi knew this specific cultural gesture was a formal, silent proposal asking Boaz to act as the family's protector and redeemer. She stopped complaining about her past and drew up a mature plan of action, proving that faith without works is dead. Stay with me until the very last second of this video, because the twist in this story is going to blow your mind and hit right at the center of the wound you are waiting for God to heal in your own life. Ruth followed Naomi's strategic plan perfectly, risking her entire reputation, and lay down at Boaz's feet in the dead of night, waiting for his response. When the man woke up startled in the middle of the night and found Ruth lying there, he understood the cultural message instantly, praised her noble character, and accepted the challenge to redeem the family. But just when Naomi and Ruth thought victory was locked in and their poverty would end tomorrow morning, a massive obstacle slammed right in front of them. Boaz looked at Ruth and said, "It is true that I am a close relative and I want to help you, but there is one major problem. There is another male relative who is actually closer to your late father-in-law than I am in the family line. By our cultural law, I must give him the right of first refusal. If he wants to buy the land and marry you tomorrow morning, it is his legal right. But if he refuses, I swear by the living God that I will step in and redeem you myself." Ruth's heart must have completely dropped into her stomach at that moment, terrified of the risk of being handed over to a total stranger she didn't even know. Can you even begin to imagine the crushing weight of anxiety inside the hearts of those two women when Ruth slipped back home before dawn and broke the news to Naomi? They were a single step away from escaping their misery. The miracle was literally within their grasp, and suddenly, a technicality in ancient law threatens to ruin everything and drag out the agony of waiting even longer. It's exactly like when you are completely ready to sign the contract of your life, and the bank calls to say there's a major title issue and another buyer just put in a higher cash offer. Your stomach knots up, and you immediately question why God let you get this close just to pull the rug out from under you at the finish line. The fatal mistake so many women make when they experience the almost syndrome is entering full panic mode, throwing their hands up, and assuming God has abandoned them in the middle of the track. They think any last-minute barrier is a final no from heaven, when in reality, it is just the ultimate test of your spiritual consistency and your emotional maturity. God allows this exact suspense in the final scene specifically to break your addiction to fixing everything yourself through frantic desperation. If you are ready to unlock the deep mystery behind God's silence during the barriers in your life, go to the comments right now and type with authority, "I will stay calm." To sit still does not mean you are being passive, lazy, or giving up on your dreams. It means you are executing a high-level maneuver known as strategic rest. It is the profound recognition that you have already done everything within your limited power. You walked back to Bethlehem, you positioned yourself in the right field, and you followed the instructions. Now, the heavy gears of the situation have officially shifted into hands that are infinitely larger and more capable than yours. Your daily anxiety is not actually a lack of faith in God's power. You know He can move massive mountains. Your real struggle is an absolute lack of trust in His timing, because you secretly believe that if you aren't constantly worried, He will somehow forget about your situation. It is like sitting in the passenger seat of a car while your husband is driving, and you keep pumping an imaginary brake pedal on your side because you don't trust his reaction time. You are exhausting your nervous system trying to drive a vehicle you don't own from a seat you aren't supposed to be controlling. The silence of God while that closer relative was deciding Naomi's entire fate was not the silence of abandonment. It was the quietness of the divine architect laying the foundation for her ultimate restoration. True healing officially takes place when you finally realize that your security is connected to His unchanging character, not your perfect performance. You need to give yourself permission to be a beautifully unfinished work in progress instead of a flawless robot who never makes a mistake. God is never going to give you the light for the very end of the highway while you are stubbornly refusing to take the first step in the dark. He does not provide a massive spotlight. He provides a lamp unto your feet, illuminating the exact square inch of ground you are standing on right now. Stop trying to push the heavy stone walls of your life down with your own fragile, exhausted hands, because what is truly reserved for your destiny cannot be stolen by any human being. The closer relative looked at the financial cost of redeeming Naomi's land and explicitly said, "I cannot redeem it, lest I ruin my own inheritance." The obstacle walked away on its own, the path was completely cleared, and Boaz stepped forward to claim his bride and restore Naomi's life. When that closer relative stepped back, it wasn't just a stroke of good luck. It was the sovereign hand of God moving a piece on a grand chessboard to align Naomi and Ruth with a purpose that was infinitely bigger than their immediate survival. Boaz didn't just buy a piece of dirt. He redeemed a lineage that had been written off as dead and buried in the graveyards of Moab. Your current endurance through this silent waiting period is not just about getting you out of debt, fixing your relationship, or making you feel better. It is about anchoring your life to a divine legacy. Think about how messy the middle of a construction site looks, with dirt everywhere, loud machines, and concrete poured haphazardly, making it impossible to see the beautiful house that was drawn on the blueprints. You are looking at the dust, the sweat, and the delays in your life and calling it a failure, while God is looking at the exact same scene and calling it progress. Every delay you survived developed a layer of spiritual muscle and emotional maturity that you are going to desperately need to sustain the blessing that is coming next. When Boaz and Ruth finally married and had a son named Obed, the neighborhood women didn't gossip anymore. They gathered around Naomi to bless her, saying that her daughter-in-law loved her more than 7 sons. That little baby boy grew up to become the grandfather of King David, placing Naomi's broken, messy story directly into the royal lineage of Jesus Christ himself. The very pain that made Naomi change her name to Bitter became the soil that grew the Savior of the entire world. Your current trial is the raw material God is using to build a testimony that will comfort and heal thousands of women who are walking through their own deserts tomorrow. You have to stay in the field, keep your head up, and trust the process even when the work is heavy and the recognition is zero. If you can see by faith that your current struggle is preparing you for a harvest of purpose that will outlive you, step into the comments right now and type, "My story has purpose." Wherever you are right now, whether you are washing the dishes, sitting in your car, or in the quiet darkness of your bedroom, I want you to take a deep breath and relax your shoulders. Let go of your heavy burdens right now, because your part of the work is officially done, and God's part is about to begin. Let's go into a moment of deep, sincere prayer for your soul. Father, I place into your hands every single woman whose heart is crying out tonight. Where do I even begin? You know every hidden corner of her exhausted soul, and you see that her own strength has completely run out. I break right now every spirit of paralysis, heavy anxiety, and chronic burnout that has tried to lock up her future and steal her joy. Break the heavy chains of shame, remove the fear of human judgment, and lift the weight of this savior complex off her shoulders right now. Pour out a wave of supernatural rest that quiets her loud mind, heals her hidden grief, and restores her physical body. Remind her, Lord, that she does not carry the weight of the entire world on her back, and that her Redeemer is already working behind the scenes. Give her the courage to take just one small step of faith tomorrow morning. May she sleep tonight with the absolute certainty that you are organizing her next chapter in the dark, and that her empty hands are the perfect place for your miracle to happen. We seal this deep soul healing, this freedom from fear, and this brand new beginning. Amen. My sister, if you stayed with me until the very last second of this video, listen to me closely. This was not a coincidence. Today is a clear dividing line in your history. We are leaving the bitter desert behind and stepping into your season of restoration. Do not leave this video in silence. Announce your new beginning with absolute authority. Go to the comments section right now and type this declaration in all capital letters. My next chapter begins today. Type it with conviction, and don't forget to add our community phrase, I see myself in you. Make sure to subscribe to the channel right now, because in our very next video, you are going to discover, through a completely fresh perspective, the story of another woman who thousands of years ago walked through the exact same pain you might be facing today. Do you want to discover who she is and how her journey will transform your life? Then stay locked in right here with me. And while the next video is being prepared, don't close YouTube just yet. Click right now and watch these videos that are popping up on your screen this very second. The next step belongs to him.